9 lethal reasons that can cause you to lose your house. That's the topic for today's episode, and without further ado, let's dive in. Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode. For those who are tuning in for the first time, this is your channel for real estate education. So today we're going to talk about what you should do and always should do to prevent losing your house. So without further ado, let's just dive into the board very quickly. And first things first, of course, you should never stop paying the mortgage, right? So it's an automatic foreclosure, or will put you in a very uncomfortable situation. If for whatever reason you find yourself in a tough situation and you don't think that you can cover the mortgage, always reach out to the lender first and explain them what's going on. Never wait for the lender to reach out to you, because they will automatically start the foreclosure process, and that's not a pretty picture, and you definitely do not want to put yourself in that situation, right? So that's one. And by that, I don't mean that they're going to foreclose on you right away. The foreclosure process has multiple stages, and if you're curious, I'm going to leave a link down below for another episode so you can learn about the different stages of foreclosure. But in the meantime, don't get out, stick with me so you can get the most out of this episode. So the second reason why you can lose your house is because you don't pay taxes, right? So never stop paying taxes. Pay taxes. Why? Because, Uncle Sam always comes first, and you definitely don't want to put yourself in that situation. If you don't pay taxes, they're going to place a lien on your property, and that won't be a pretty picture as well. Then the third reason that you can lose your house is if you owe money, right? If you owe money to, let's say, contractors, you owe money to your electrician, or anyone who has done work in your property, right? So, etc. The fourth reason why you can lose your property is if you don't keep your property up to code. So by up to code, I mean, let's say you need to remove the garbage because it could be a hazard for people walking by. People can trip on it, people can fall. Same thing with the building structure or the house structure. You have to keep everything up to code. And if you don't take care of any of these, a lien can be placed on your property. Uncle Sam can place a lien on your property and have the right to the money after your property has been liquidated. Same thing for contractors, electricians. These are people who are not happy because you're not paying them, and they have to pay their staff. They have to pay their team members. They also have a family to maintain. And if your building is not up to code, the city or the municipality is going to come in here and they're going to fine you. And then if you don't pay that fine, then they also have the right to place a lien on your property. And if you don't know what a lien is, it's practically the right to possess your property until that debt is completely paid off. And if you're very curious about how you can actually find out whether your property is actually up to code, I'm going to leave you a link right here and also down in the description box, so you can actually access that website and get access to the latest legislation and to any information that is related to your property, so you can always stay on top of everything and avoid those fines. Another reason why you can actually lose your property if you don't have enough reserve funds, right? And I'm going to tell you why. Enough reserves, because things happen, right? Your tenants can all of a sudden decide to move out, or if you live in your own home, hey, maybe you can lose your job, or maybe something can happen. And what do you do if you don't have any reserve funds, right? You won't have enough to cover the mortgage. You won't have enough to do anything else. So banks are pretty smart about this. In fact, before closing, they usually request to see a statement to make sure you have at least 3 months worth of reserve funds so you can actually cover the mortgage payment, because they know things can happen down the road and they want to protect the asset as well. They want to make sure that down the road they can still get paid. Another reason why you can actually lose your property or your house is if you don't have insurance. And I cannot stress this enough. I've heard multiple people saying that as soon as they paid off their property, the first thing they remove is the insurance. And when they ask them why, oh, because I don't have a mortgage and it's not required anymore. That is thinking small, ladies and gentlemen. Please don't do that, because insurance it's kind of like having credit, right? Having insurance in your property is going to protect you for major damages or something that is unforeseen, any liability that could happen down the road because you didn't predict that, you didn't know it was coming down the road, and it can help you from foreclosing, from having to sell your property because you needed to pay money to someone else. And here's one example, right? A couple of months ago, back in October, one of my properties actually caught fire, right? And yes, it's all great. Luckily, I have insurance. So the insurance actually came in and they took care of the rental loss. They paid for a couple of months of rental loss, and imagine the renovations that I had to do with it, right? So the insurance came in, they inspected the property, and they did their analysis, and they wind up sending me a check for those losses so that I can use the money, start cashing that, and start the renovation of the property so I can get it rent ready, up and running, so that I can place a tenant in there as soon as possible. Imagine if I didn't have any insurance. I would have been left for months without rent. I would have probably foreclosed on that property because I didn't have any rent proceeds coming my way. And at the same time, where am I going to get the money? Yes, I can apply for another loan, but why? That's why you have insurance for, right? So you can utilize that and, get your property protected and be on the go without having to stick your hands into your own savings, into your own money, because that's reserved for some reason. It's there for something else. Another reason why you could lose your property is if you don't have a LLC or a trust. Why do I say LLC on a trust? If you having rentals, yes, you put that on an LLC. But if you're living on that property, you should not place your home residence in an LLC. You leave them on a trust. It could be on a land trust, or it could be on a living trust. For that, you're gonna have to reach out to an attorney or to your accountant to help with your estate planning. This goes beyond what I can actually teach in today's episode, but just so you know, in case you're wondering how do you actually protect your primary residence, there's plenty of ways for you to do that, but having a trust is actually one of them, right? But if you're having a rental and you're not placing your property inside of an LLC, guess what's going to happen, right? So let's say you live in a place where, you got a lot of snow and then somebody slips and falls in front of your house. You could get sued for that. And if you don't have any protection around it, you can get sued for not only the house, but for anything that's under your name. But if you have that property placed inside an LLC, then you are protecting yourselves against liability. It's called a limited liability company for a reason, right? So definitely check that out. And if you're wondering what are some of the many benefits that you can get with an LLC, I'm gonna leave you a link down below as well, so you can actually check it out and learn what you can do with an LLC and protect your assets. And if you're enjoying this content so far, make sure you hit the like button right here so you can help this channel rank and help other people who are looking for information of this kind and educate themselves. The next reason why you can actually lose your property is by not having credit, right? No credit. Call it personal or commercial credit. You actually need both, because why? Emergencies happen, right? So it's like one step that you are taking to prevent one another. So let's say another catastrophe happens. Let's say, for example, let's just use again the instance where my property caught fire. Let's say for whatever reason you don't have enough money in reserve, or let's say you don't have insurance. But hey, you have credit, right? You have credit that can allow you to go out and take out a loan, or that can allow you and just simply use a credit card to cover any of these expenses, to cover the monthly mortgage payment that you need, right? And if you're probably wondering, wait, I can actually take a credit card to the bank and pay for my mortgage? No, you cannot do that. I've had many people ask me that multiple times, and that's not how you pay your mortgage with your credit card. A way for you to pay your mortgage with your credit card is leveraging services like Venmo or Plastic or Melio Payments. And for those who are curious, there's also another episode right here that you can check out in the description box, so you can actually leverage those credit cards to cover those extra expenses. And the last reason why you can lose your property is by not having a property manager. And I bet you did not think about this one before. Why? Because It's one of those roles that are so ungrateful. Your property manager can do so much for you. So let's say, for example, something happened and the property and it needed immediate assistance, right? And let's say, for example, you're somewhere out in Europe backpacking. You don't have time to come back here. Or maybe you're at a baseball game of your child and you want to enjoy that moment with your family. But guess what? It's cut short all of a sudden and you're coming here, right? Or let's say you say, well, what's the worst that can happen? I'm just gonna wait until the end of my trip, or maybe I'll just wait until the end of the game. By then, the floor in that house could have flooded. By then, the property could have caught fire. Who knows what could have happened? And then what? Now you're exposing yourself to a lawsuit, to a liability, right? There's a reason why property managers exist. Not just for that, but they're also the experts in the field. They're the ones who knows the legislations left and right. They know what's going on in their area. They know what's okay to do and what's not okay to do. And they keep you in check so that you potentially don't get a lawsuit or anything. Imagine if you didn't know anything about it, or let's say you just, decided to really enjoy that moment with your kid, and now you're facing a lawsuit and potentially losing your house. And while I still have you here, I'm sure a lot of you are probably asking questions about, wow, this is awesome, this is really helpful, how do I learn more? And for that same reason, I created a webinar entirely for free, and the link is right here and also down in the description below that you can check out. All you have to do is block out 2.5 hours of your time and make sure that you sign up and also have a notebook and working pen. You have no idea how many people I've heard that they said that they didn't think they were going to learn anything, and by the time they started taking out notes, they ran out of ink. So don't let that be you. Make sure you sign up. It's completely free of charge, and it will teach you about real estate investment the right way. So make sure you check it out, and I will see you on the other side and the webinar. Take care. Bye-bye.